What's up with goombas?
For being the most iconic video game enemies of all time, they don't seem to get that much attention. I mean, not just from the fans, but from Nintendo themselves. Heck, they weren't even supposed to be in the first Super Mario Bros. Game. It was just because they realized late in development that Koopa Troopas were way too difficult to deal with, so they created an enemy that reused the mushroom sprite and didn't need a walking animation. There are like 30 Mario spin-offs at this point, and how many of them let you play as a Goomba, a character who has appeared in almost every single mainline and spin-off Mario title, is constantly featured in merchandise, and is almost as recognizable to as many people as Mario is? 3. Mario Superstar Baseball, Mario Super Sluggers, and Super Mario Party. Monty Mole has more playable appearances. Monty Mole! Goomba isn't even playable in Mario Kart Tour, and that game has like 50 characters and half of them are Mario. You could argue that, oh, he doesn't have hands, that's why he isn't playable, but he can hold a baseball bat and a water gun just fine. I could also see like a Goomba tower being playable, having like one operating the pedals, the other doing the steering wheel, and the other one throwing items. I think that would be pretty cute, but that's not the point of this video. It kind of is, but this whole thing started many years ago when I was playing Mario 3 and I realized, wait, why are there weird off-yellow Goombas and brown Goombas in the same game? Which is why I would like to take a look at the history of Goombas in the Mario series. Alright, let's go. This isn't supposed to be here. Oops. As I said before, the Goomba was created out of necessity at the latter end of Mario 1's development. Players said that facing Koopa Troopas as the first and primary enemies was a hassle, so they created something that could be easily dealt with in one stomp, only needed one sprite, and didn't require a lot of programming work. Another thing worthy of note is that Goombas had to change colors in castles and underground levels because of how the NES was programmed, though these recolors would later be reused/retconned into being things like Gloombas, but I'm pretty sure that this was not planned at the start. I think it's weird that in some alternate dimension, there's a 1-1 that doesn't have the genius Goomba set out to teach players the rules of the game. It's a little shocking how one of the most infamous single screens of game design artistry was partially a complete accident. Goombas are absent from North America's Mario 2 because it famously isn't originally a Mario game at all. It's actually a reskin of a little-known game called The Legend of Zelda. However, in Super Mario Bros. 2, The Lost Levels, they're back and the same as ever. In Mario 3, we have the weird tan Goombas that have been the source of many a sleepless night for me. I don't know why they're tan in this game. The reddish brown Goombas do make an appearance, but to finally answer my own question as to why they're here, the regular color Goombas only appear as Paragoombas, which is a new subspecies introduced in this game that are known to throw their children at you. Another subspecies, if you could even call it that, is the Shoe Goomba, which speaks for itself. The thing I was not aware of is that there are actually no Goombas in Super Mario Land. Instead, there are Goombos, who are exactly the same in every way, just without eyebrows, to, I guess, give a canonical reason why they couldn't fit eyebrows on the sprite. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Moving on to Super Mario World, we have one of the most notorious Goomba subspecies/relatives/whatever. What came to be known as Galoombas. They didn't get this name until Super Mario 3D World, however. Before that, they were just known as, hey, remember that one time in Super Mario World where Goombas looked weird and they didn't die when you stomped on them? The reason that Goombas look like this in Mario World is because Goomba's name in Japanese, Karibo, means chestnut boy. Whoever was making the sprite thought that they were chestnut people, and I don't blame them because what is up with that name? This is as good a time as any to mention the etymology behind Goomba's English name, because I have a problem. Goomba's English name comes from the Hungarian word for mushrooms, gamba, and apparently an Italian word roughly meaning friend, compa, though it can also refer to a member of a criminal organization, and it's also a derogatory term that North Italians use against South Italians, so please do not cancel me. Language is hard. I personally think it could also come from goon, which is basically a grunt or a lackey for a criminal organization, but that's not on the Mario Wiki, so it's not real. In Mario Land 2, we have a lot of Goomba subspecies, 2 of which are just Goombas with fun hats, and the other is what Mario sees every time he closes his eyes. If we dive into the Mario RPGs, you'll find like 80 Goomba subspecies, so we're gonna ignore those for now because most are just Goomba but differently colored. My dog is barking. I will mention Goomboss though, because he's the first time Goombas were given any sort of power or status in the series, being the first boss in Paper Mario as well as a boss in Mario 64 DS. There were no Goomba variants introduced in Mario 64 or Sunshine, though we do have the infamous Cug, a presumed test image that appears in out-of-bounds areas in some places. Instead, in Sunshine, the role of weak single-hit KO enemies was played by these weird paint blotch things. What are they? I don't know. In the stews.
Strollin' stew. Soarin' stew. Smoldering stew. Swiping stew.
I think I did that right. I don't remember. No. In New Super Mario Bros. DS, the boss of World 4 was Mega Goomba. That's about it. In Mario Galaxy, we finally got some new subspecies to talk about, though we now have the return of the Tan Goombas, which differ from regular ones by not being able to give you star bits, and that's literally it. Why are they there? I'm still baffled about this to this day. They're just strictly inferior to regular Goombas. It's not even like a thing where it's like, oh, you have the weak ones and then you have the strong ones, because like they pretty much exclusively appear in the starting level, and then like 2 or 3 of them throughout the rest of the game. The normal Goombas appear everywhere else. I do not understand why, Shigeru. We are introduced in this game to Octoombas and their many relatives, including like this one and that one. Wow. We also meet Goom Beetles, who are just Goomba with hat, and Pumpkinhead Goombas, which are also just Goomba with hat. In Super Mario Bros. We introduced bigger Goombas, which is the most important thing yet, but they also gave us a closer look at Goomba biology by showing us prickly Goombas, which appear to be how Goombas are born. This also further makes me question why they're mushrooms, because these shells are so obviously chestnut inspired. What are you? What are you? Mario 3D Land introduced Goomba Towers, which is weird because I associate Goombas with stacking on each other, so it's a bit odd that it hasn't been around for longer. And also Tail Goombas, while New Soup 2 gave us Dead Goomba 2 and Goldba. Mario Bros. U introduced Goombrats, which turn around when they hit a ledge, unlike regular Goombas, which don't. They then introduced Goombas in Mario Maker 2, which do the exact same thing, so I don't know why they made a new species, because like they already had the Goombrat model for New Super Mario Bros. U. It's literally less work. In 3D World, they introduced Furry Goombas and Goomba's Day Off, rounding off with Odyssey, which introduced... As you can see, Goombas have a lot of very strange variants, even without factoring in the RPGs. If you do look at those, then you get an insane amount of Goomba relatives, and you even have variants upon those variants. The history and zoology of Goombas is super interesting to look into, yet I never hear anyone talk about these little guys. They've had a more massive impact on the gaming industry than half the characters in Smash have, yet they never get a second of thanks for it. When describing the weakest enemy in the game, do you not refer to it as the Goomba of this game? When looking at 99% of the Mario merchandise available today, do you not see Goombas alongside coins and shells and mushrooms as one of the most recognizable iconographies from this franchise? When thinking of game design, does one not look to the first Goomba in 1-1 as a baseline example of how to convey information to the player without a single word? And yet, when was the last time you saw somebody praise them? When was the last time you saw Nintendo celebrate their accomplishments? When was the last time you saw somebody outraged that Goomba was not a playable character in Smash Bros? When was the last time you saw Goomba get chosen over Honey Queen, or Pink Gold Peach, or Spike, or Baby Rosalina, or King Bob-omb to be recognizable as worthy of a playable slot? I ask you, citizens of the United States of America, when was the last time we paid our respects to the forefathers of modern enemy design? I ask you why we as a culture have not formally recognized Goombas as the icons they are. I ask you, when will these unsung pioneers get their recognition and their chance in the spotlight? I ask you! Why are there random tame Goombas in Mario 3? And why did they get brought back in Mario Galaxy? Nintendo, please, why did you do this? And why did you make Goombas when you already have Goombas?